good morning. Welcome to Let's Get Growing Facebook Live. We're back in the garden today. We had our 2-week trip to England. It was fantastic. I hope you enjoyed following along with our daily reports from the gardens we saw. Not too far off from Ireland and southern Scotland, leaving on August 6th, so watch for those updates. We'll do daily updates again. And some Instagram videos from the gardens as we can. We're back in the garden today. It is a humid, damp, mosquito-y morning, but happy that we're getting some nice summer rain. The garden always just performs so much better when you get rain than when you have to put a sprinkler on beds. But we're going to look at a couple of things today. Some nice things and one pretty creepy thing. So, in front of me here is Lilium nepalense. It's one of the species lilies. It's a really cool one, sort of a nodding Turk's cap flower, greenish white with maroon centers. It's a pretty striking, cool thing. But it's getting attacked, and it's getting attacked by lily beetles. Now, if you've gardened for a long time, you already know lily beetles. If you haven't gardened for a long time and you haven't used a lot of lilies in your garden, I'm going to show you why they kind of fell out of favor. Then we're going to talk about why they're coming back a little bit. Lily beetles are a bright orange, elongated beetle, maybe quarter-inch long or so, but bright orange, very distinctive looking, long, narrow body. They are called the lily beetle because they basically only eat lilies. The only other plant you'll see them on is spring blooming fritillaria bulbs, and they will attack those as well. Now they're pretty voracious. The adults will eat lilies and the larvae will eat lilies. Now unfortunately I don't see an adult on the plant today, but you can see a lot of its damage on the flower buds here. You can see big chunks taken out of them. This one here is completely destroyed. You can see whole leaves chewed all the way down here. Lily beetles, if they find a lily they like, they will completely strip it. Years ago, one of our mainstays for summer color in the garden was Asiatic lilies. They're so easy, they're cheap, you can plant lots of them. There's lots of different colors. And, the garden can just explode with color from Asiatic lilies in the summer. As the lily beetles moved into our area, and they've been here for a while now, they came up from the United States, where they came, I think, from Asia a number of decades ago, and they've just worked their way north. They actually attacked our Asiatic lilies so badly that they would strip every flower bud and every leaf off the plants until the plants got so weakened they just didn't come back anymore. So we stopped growing them, and I really miss having lilies in the summer garden. Fortunately, we still have some oriental lilies and some oriental lily hybrids in the garden. The Orient pets, those are the oriental trumpet hybrids. For some reason, the lily beetles don't seem to attack those quite the same. So I'm adding some of those back into the garden, but I'm a sucker for punishment, so I've been adding some Martagon lilies into the garden again. The lily beetles do like them, so we're going to work at trying to keep the beetles out of the way. But the Oriental trumpet hybrids, as they get established, and they'll look great next year. They never put on their full height the first year, So they're kind of hidden in amongst other perennials, but they're going to look great next year. And they tend to be much more unpalatable than Asiatic lilies. If you want to grow Asiatic lilies in your garden, best thing to do, buy bulbs in the spring, put them in pots, grow them in pots. The adult beetles overwinter in the ground and then emerge on the first warm day and start chewing. So if you're growing your lilies in pots, you're going to have much less damage happening. But I've showed you the damage. I can't show you a beetle. The rain must have washed them away. But I'm going to show you the larvas, because the larvas you might not even recognize as a larva or as an insect that's chewing, but they are voracious. So I'm going to pick a leaf off here that has a larva on it. I'll bring it up closer to the camera. So here's the lily beetle larva here. It looks kind of like a clump of poop. Is that focused, Laura? Can you see that on there? It looks kind of like a clump of poop, which is exactly what it is. The little larva is like a tiny little slug. And he's eating this leaf like crazy right now. In a day or two, it'll be completely gone. But what these little slugs do to protect themselves, because they'd be pretty tasty treat for birds, is they cover themselves in their own poop. So that makes them like disgusting, gross little clumps of slug poop that are eating your plants away right in front of your face. So that is something, put gloves on, peel them off, drown them, squish them, whatever. It really is the best way to get rid of them. Because the other thing that covering of poop does is it'd protect them from any spray that you might try to spray on them. So you need to be aware of that. I have heard people use some soil drenches to help try to kill the adults first thing in the spring. I haven't tried it myself, but keep in mind that the adults do overwinter in the soil sort of right above where the bulbs are. So if you're aware of that, you can maybe try that, or watch that area right when the bulbs are coming up in the spring, and you'll see adults come right up on them right away. You often see this with Fritillaria imperialis because they come up very early, and you'll often see, if you've got a bad infestation of lily beetles, you'll see your Fritillaria imperialis shoots covered in adult beetles, and you can get them right away before they start laying eggs and having a new batch. So something to keep in mind. Keep an eye out. Look, there's another slug right on the flower there, and you can see the damage they're doing. Can you see that, Laura, from here? You can see the damage they do. If I don't do something with this guy, they'll eat every leaf off this in the next day or so. So keep an eye out on your lilies for your lily beetles. Some of the species, your Martagons, your Asiatics, always the worst ones attacked. Plant the Orientals and the Trumpets. They seem to be much better at resisting these things. Now, on to a brighter note. We're right here in a shady spot, so I'm going to talk about a couple of shade-loving plants that I really, really love, and that's the Ethereum ferns, or the lady ferns. Our garden has always been tough to grow ferns. Dry sand is not the best situation for most ferns, and it can be a really difficult situation, to get ferns established. But as we've improved the soil over the years with adding leaves every year, top dressing with compost occasionally, but mostly doing our soil improvements the natural way with just adding all the leaves and debris that you see in the garden right now, all this foliage, it literally stays here all winter, dies down, rots away, builds good soil. There's two groups of ferns that have done really well for us, and that is the Dryopteris, or the male ferns, and the Ethereums or the lady ferns. Now, why do they call them male and lady ferns? You have to get a microscope out and look at the spores, and there's a difference, and you can sort of figure out what that difference might be in the spores. You don't notice it from the plants, but I'm going to look at just 3 of them that we have right here, and then we're getting out of the mosquitoes because they're bad today. One of the best of the Ethereums or lady ferns for the garden and for slightly dry shade. I can't say bone dry shade because they will suffer a bit. But one of the best ferns we've ever planted in the garden is Ethereum niponicum pictum, the Japanese painted fern, which is a lady fern. All the Ethereums are lady ferns. There's lots of different forms of the Japanese painted fern out there. They all are based on silvery fronds, red stems, we'll call them. They're not really stems. And a nice mix of colors. Look at the new fronds when they come out. Nice coppery colors. And look at this patch. This patch here is probably 25 years old. It's magnificent. It has gone through years when we have never irrigated it. It's just a great, solid fern for any garden space. We've put some in new beds that are very dry shade, that get minimal irrigation, and they're coming along really well. So keep that in mind if you're in drier shade situations. The Japanese painted ferns are great. Moving up here, I'm going to move over to this guy here. This is one you don't see as much. This is another one of the Japanese painted fern family. This is Ethereum Branford Rambler. And you can see he's rambling around. He's creeping his way through the shade garden. This is a garden that never gets any direct sun on it. We've got uvularias in here. We've got some hosta in here. We've got wild ginger in here. All doing great. And then we've got this wonderful Ethereum Branford Rambler. Not an easy one to find, but if you find it, again, look at these dark, dark, dark stems. Wonderful fresh green fronds all the time, and just super happy, healthy in deep shade with a lot of competition from trees. The third one, because she's right here, this is what you would call maybe a true lady fern. It's not one of the Japanese painted fern types. This is Ethereum Lady in Red. It's one of our selections of one of our native lady ferns. A beautiful fern again. Look at the height. 3 feet tall. Red stems. Makes a wonderful contrast against that fresh green foliage. And again, super easy to grow. Keeps its clump well. This clump's been here for probably 15 years. Hardly spread, but, you know, certainly has a presence in the garden every year. Great companion for hostas and things like that. And the one thing that the Ethereums do that not all ferns do is they keep producing fronds all season long. And that's one big benefit for using Ethereums in the garden. Most people get in ferns, they get given a clump of ostrich fern. And, then they get scared of ferns. It can be very aggressive. Ostrich fern also looks great in the spring and the early summer. You get into the dryness of midsummer, and the fronds start dying brown at the tips, and they start to look a little bit crappy if they're not in ideal conditions. The problem with ferns like that is they only grow basically a crop of fronds a year. The Ethereums, however, they keep producing. So, these guys produced a whole spring crop, and then now look, they're still pushing out fronds all summer long. That keeps them looking fresh and healthy and just great looking all season. So, one bad guy, one good guy for today. We'll leave it there. Do we have any questions, Laura, today?
Just one question. Rosalind has a palm that refuses to grow. She waters it and fertilizes it. What is she doing wrong?
What kind of palm? Like a houseplant palm that's doing
I don't know.
spawning. So palms palms can be interesting plants. I've seen palms sit around for a long time without actually growing any new stems or new flowers or new leaves, sorry. What I would probably do is investigate the growing tip. I've seen palms that looked good, but when I give a yank on sort of the youngest fronds, they just pull right out of the crown. So there could be crown rot happening in there that's prevented new fronds from being formed. It's about all I can think of at the moment for that. Yeah, yeah.
That's the only question.
That's the only question for today. All right. Summer rain, gotta love it. Makes the garden great. Enjoy your garden. We will see you next week on Let's Get Growing Facebook Live. And don't forget, August 6th to 18th, we'll be in Ireland and southern Scotland. So watch for those updates from that trip.